attempt to do the intro flawlessly the first time.
Flawlessly first time.
Hi, Patrick. Try. We're doing a episode with a third guest. It's Charlie. So I hope this isn't too hard to edit. I do not know how that works. Tell me if there's a problem. Okay, go.
Hello, and welcome to the Living Scary Podcast.
The podcast where we talk about real to real horror so you can live vicariously through us.
I'm on a special episode of the Living Scary Podcast. Charlie, and I like to talk about horror movies.
And I'm a slightly mummified corpse, McCall, and I like to talk about true crime and murder.
And I'm along for the ride, Logan.
Yay.
And I also like to watch horror movies, but not today.
But not this horror movie.
No,
Logan
I refuse to watch this one.
Yes, so why I'm here, dear viewers, is McCall has desperately wanted Logan to review the movie that I'll be talking about today. Logan has refused, and I, being the generous partner I am, said yes, because I really want McCall to like me. Desperately.
I am so curious about this movie. I don't know how Logan didn't want to watch it. I know why I didn't want to watch it. A man turns into a walrus, but like,
that's why I didn't want to watch
it. But Charlie was a good sport and watched the movie. I assume Logan sat in the other room and cried while you watched it, or like, how'd this setup work?
I was smart and made it so that I watched it when Logan had a D&D session, so he did not have to be privy to any of it.
How did the experience... Okay, also, for the listener who doesn't know what we're talking about the movie Tusk with Justin Long. So how was the experience for you watching it alone?
It was fine. Yeah, it didn't really bother me. It was nice because I got to be alone with myself and my thoughts, and I got to just kind of scream to the television as I wanted, or laugh and cackle maniacally.
I don't know if I'd want to be alone with my thoughts while I watch whatever's happening happen. Like, Logan also won't watch the Human Centipede, which, I mean, come on, Logan.
No.
No.
No. No, spank you.
Yeah, so we're going to this will be the first in a new segment, Chit Chat with the Charles, where I do all the body horror films that Logan refuses to want to watch.
Yeah, it's not even that it's body horror, because I enjoy body horror. I enjoy a good
body
Cronenberg.
Hodor.
Shut up. Hodor. Bob Dor. Bob Dor. But I I love some Cronenberg. I love The Fly, The Thing, all the those.
What do you not like about this?
I don't like that it's a man who's turned into a walrus against his will.
You just have a problem with Canada.
No, I have a problem with the loss of control. That's why I fear aging and my brain turning to mushy bananas and I just being like my brain in a husk that doesn't work anymore.
I'm pretty sure in The Fly, he also doesn't want to turn into a fly.
No,
I could be wrong.
You are wrong.
He wants to turn into a fly?
He very much gets excited by the fact that he's turning into a fly.
That's insane.
Wait a minute, that one hasn't been done yet?
No, we haven't done The Fly because I've had a bitch of a time trying to find that movie.
Okay.
I love that movie, but I'm sure I could rent it on Amazon or something, but that's a movie. It's like, no. I want that one in hard copy. I want that one on DVD because
Blu-ray.
I don't trust it. I don't trust the streaming services. They're convenient and they're nice and they're fun when like in the moment, but I don't trust that I'm always going to have access to the movies I want. So I want those DVDs. And that's why I don't think DVDs will ever go out. But then again, that's what people thought about VHS too. So.
All right. Charlie, do you have IMDb open? Can you give us the lowdown on this movie?
Of course. So this movie came out in September of 2014. It is directed and written by Kevin Smith. It stars. Okay, there's a handful of people. Our main characters are Justin Long, who is Wallace Brighton.
No way, his name's Wallace.
His name is Wallace.
Like Walrus?
I never caught that until just now. So kudos to you, McCall.
Thank you. I always catch him. I don't know if they were doing that on purpose.
Yes. No. Well, probably. That makes so much more sense. All right. So Justin Long is Wallace. He's our protagonist. It is highly likely that I will be switching out Justin Long and Wallace consistently throughout the course of this podcast.
I do it all the time.
We have Haley Joel Osment, who plays Wallace's best friend Teddy. We have Genesis Rodriguez, who plays Allie, Wallace's girlfriend. We have Michael Parks, who plays the antagonist Howard Howe. And the other main person in the cast is Johnny Depp, who plays a detective by the name of Guy Lepont. I think that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's a detective by the name of Guy.
Guy.
I feel like they had to have like caught Johnny Depp on a good day to get this.
He was one of his bottles of wine in.
So we will talk about Johnny Depp and my thoughts on his involvement in this whole story later, of which there are a couple of thoughts.
There are many. Okay, there's a couple.
Yeah, many, couple, same diff.
There's always a few.
Also of note, Kevin Smith's daughter Harley Quinn and Johnny Depp's daughter Lily Rose are also in the movie as well too.
Wait, her name is Harley Quinn? No shit.
Yes, it is.
Huh. Celebrities name their kids weird shit.
And I feel bad for them when they do, because it's like the kid just has to spend the rest of their life like in Batman.
Yes.
What's the really funny kid's name? Logan. Something Muffin. Thin Muffin. What's her name?
What?
There is... Shit. There it is. No, wait. Different person. There is a celebrity that named their kid Diva Thin Muffin. That is her name.
Her name's Diva Cup?
Her name, Diva Thin Muffin, is her God-given name.
I think
and
Satan had a part in that. Don't blame God for that.
And it's Frank Zappa's the dad. I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
He's a famous guy, I guess.
Not that famous.
Anyway, back to the Walrus.
So the movie was it was originally intended to be produced by Blumhouse. However, from what I can gather, Blumhouse turned it down because Kevin Smith, in the process of either writing Clerks 2 or not Clerks 2, Clerks 3, in the process of being involved in that, he was trying to do this movie on the fast. So he expedited the timeline, and Blumhouse couldn't work with that. So it ended up being Demarest Films, XYZ Films, and Smodcast Pictures, which is Kevin Smith's podcast company, I believe.
Huh. Do I know who Kevin Smith is? Is that a person I should know?
So it depends on what circles you frequent, because I have limited knowledge of Kevin Smith. I know he was involved in the Clerks movies. I can't remember the name of his character.
Clerk man.
I do not know him.
I know him because he's very involved in a lot of nerd fandoms. And so he'll regularly be a guest star on a podcast or a YouTube channel that I watch. But
I have no idea. I mean, okay, he did Live Free or Die Hard. That's a famous one.
Yep.
It's not the original Die Hard, but it's one. Oh my God, he was in the original Die Hard. What?
It's not the original. He was in the original?
His name came up on his IMDb, but then it isn't showing him. So I'll stop looking. He's a director.
Yeah, he's an actor. He was an actor at one point, and he's kind of shifted gears into doing more directorial stuff. And so the origin story of this movie is that in, 2011, he produced his first horror film called Red State. And that prompted him to shift gears and want to venture into the horror genre. He also has ventured, and a lot of his horror films are intended to be horror comedies. Tusk is actually intended to be the first in what is known as the Great North Trilogy, or not, excuse me, the True North Trilogy. So the idea is that Tusk is the first movie. In 2016, the second one was Yoga Hosers. And then the third one that's set to come out this year is Moose Jaws, which is, and I quote, Jaws, but with a moose.
Huh. So they're all Canada.
They're all Canada
Centric.
themed. Yes, that's the tie-in. That's what makes it a trilogy, is Canada.
Is Canada. I don't know how I feel about it. I'll be real. We'll see how Tusk sits. Maybe I'll see Moose Jaws.
Moose blood guy.
Moose blood guy.
I mean, so long as it lives up to the standards of Llamageddon, I'm okay.
Oh, also, McCall, we have our spooky cups. Charlie has his spooky cup.
Oh, yes. Yes. My brother got it
Oh
for me
God.
when he was in Disneyland World ? I can't remember which one.
Remember either. I think it was
Disneyland.
And we
So.
all have skull cups.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
But Charlie's
Are you
looks
also
like poison
drinking?
apple.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll get
and his contents are probably very poisonous. Anyway, so ready to jump in?
Let's
Do
go.
it.
All right. So my favorite thing is that this opens with based on actual events,
Amazing.
which is amazing. So here's my disclaimer. I have long held this belief that that none of the movies that are based on actual events are actually based on actual events, because it's what happens is nobody wants to admit that their mind came up with what horrific content was produced for the movie. So they just say based on actual events to give them cover. However, doing some research, this one can kind of be valid. So this movie came from a podcast, one of Kevin Smith's podcasts. Episode 259, The Walrus and the Carpenter. During that podcast, Kevin Smith was reviewing a fake ad, where a homeowner offered a free room and board for anyone if the renter was willing and agreed to dress like a walrus while they lived on the premises. And that led to an hour-long section of the podcast where they developed the prototype story for this movie. And it was voted on by the viewers of the podcast. There was a Twitter poll, #walrus yes versus #walrus no, to see if Kevin Smith should actually make the movie. And that's how the movie came to be. So thank you, all of you who said #walrus yes. Also, my favorite is the movie's named Tusk because Kevin Smith said, and I quote, "That's what a movie about a walrus had to be called."
Fair.
Fair, absolutely. So, all right. So with the origin story out of the way, I'll actually dive in. And this movie starts with Wallace and Teddy, who are podcasters, and they're on their podcast. And the podcast is basically about them watching raunchy, crass material and reacting to it. And it doesn't take long for you to realize these are protagonists we are not supposed to like at all. Because they're watching a video of a person named the quote Kill Bill Kid, who is basically a parody of the Star Wars kid from ye olden days on YouTube.
Oh.
Except that instead of having like a stick that he's spinning around, he's got a katana that he's spinning around and accidentally chops off his one of his legs.
No,
Jesus
it's not
Christ.
funny anymore.
So I'm glad you and I have that reaction, but Wallace and Teddy are laughing hysterically, and it leads to Wallace saying, like, it's established that Wallace is going up to Canada to interview this guy for the podcast. And he's talking about how he has all these questions, yet the only question that is verbalized is, what does this kid masturbate to? Meanwhile, Teddy is going, I've watched this enough times. I think I'm actually starting to feel sad for this guy. And just, I'm like, okay, cool. We have established you all are not likable whatsoever.
That is wild.
It is. And
that does make the impending doom a little better.
So I found that ironic that the whole premise of this movie, from a narrative perspective, is that a podcaster wanting to take advantage of someone's pain and misery is then forced to be a walrus, and his pain and misery is our pleasure as viewers of the movie. And also, I was thinking about, fortunately, there's no one else who makes podcasts that are trying to sell based on crass pain and misery, like body horror. But I digress.
Logan, that could be us. We could be the next Tusk.
That's how we get it big. Who's going to be the walrus?
Sorry. And then
you're good.
The last seal your deal, why we should not like these people and why we should root for their demise. Their podcast is called the Not See Party. NOTSEE Party.
Oh, I just got it. Oh, I didn't like that.
No, it's horrible. It's raunchy. It's crass. It's terrible. And unfortunately, as we learn later in the movie, a highly successful business venture.
Oh, lame.
Yes.
Turn him into a walrus already.
Bring on the dancing walrus.
So that all happens before the title crawl. And the next scene is Justin Long going to Canada, and he's having the traditional conversation with the messenger who warns of impending doom. And this one is played, the archetype is fulfilled by the Canadian Border Patrol. And I appreciated this man so very much because he was an absolute delight and really was offering very important life lessons that I did not know I needed to learn.
He walks up to the window and he's like, you got to be careful. We've seen some really aggressive plastic surgeons in this area.
So a couple of my favorites, obviously don't ever tell anybody that you're not interested in hockey. Sadness was invented by the USA.
Whoa.
And Canadians aren't nice. They're optimistic. Yep. And there was a lot of that as well, too. So I just was like, these are words to live by. And one of the things that is a common theme throughout this movie is that Justin Long's character is not likable. They make a point of reminding you of this many a times. And one of the things that's very clear is in his interactions with everybody in Canada, he looks at everyone like they are less than. They are commodities to service him. And because he's from LA as well too. Not saying he's hitting the cliche stereotype of West Coast self-indulgent man-child. He goes to the Border Patrol, checks in with the people, goes to the kid's house, finds out that 2 days before he got there, the kid committed suicide, and he rolled up into this kid's funeral, and proceeds to badmouth the kid as a selfish POS for not waiting 2 days to meet with him for his podcast.
Okay, there we go. Okay, now I don't.
Walrus.
And that's like why, because I didn't know this context, but I don't like I was thinking of it from the lens of Human Centipede, where it's like poor unwitting people that got caught and tortured for no reason. Whereas like, okay, never mind, this guy can go.
Put the big teeth in. I don't care.
Well, I mean, realistically, it's Justin Long. In every movie I've seen Justin Long, and with the exception of Galaxy Quest, he plays this type of character. And I respect that he does it well enough to the point where he's got a niche on the market.
He's a good, goofy kid or an incredible douchebag. Those are his niches.
That they are. And so it was one of those things where it was just, there was so much emphasis on he's an ass, he's mean, he's selfish. And it's like, but they keep trying to remind us of this later on as he's getting hurt and tormented and transformed. And it's just like, we all know this. Like, you don't have to remind us. This is a cool 101 minutes. So, like,
oh wow,
I'm
that's
not
a short movie.
It's a short movie. I'm not gonna forget that he's a man-child. I'm really not. Because it also felt like, in their effort to try and remind you, he's not. You shouldn't empathize. I'm like, no, come back to the walrus thing. Come back to the horror piece of this.
Bring it back to the walrus.
I want to be scared. So he's at a bar. He's lamenting the fact that he has to spend $500 to get back home for nothing. He goes to the bathroom, and you know those event boards that everybody posts like posters and stuff on, or like ads where you can like take a number and stuff? There's one of those like right in front of the urinal, and I spent a little bit too much time questioning why that was there.
If you want to be a walrus, take this number.
Like right in front of the urinals. I know that they're on the wall. Like, again, this is one of those things where I was just like, this does not feel properly placed, but okay. And what happens is, as you just described, McCall, there's a letter written in pencil, in cursive, that's from a man saying, I have spent many years at sea, and I have many a story, and I am willing to offer anyone who wishes free lodging if they are open to hearing my tales. And pursuing, like, it is just like this nautical seaman who's like, just come hop on my dinghy.
Yeah, he's looking for seamen, all right.
Yes,
that's not a good.
Yeah, so Justin Long grabs a ticket, grabs his phone number, and drives 2 hours outside Winnipeg to a very nice mansion in the middle of nowhere, where he meets Howard Howe. And I loved this man so much. He was such a delight. He was dressed in a suit to meet with Justin Long for the occasion. He was in a wheelchair, and he had already prepared tea for Justin Long. But also his storytelling was so phenomenal. There's a scene where Justin Long is talking with Howard, and it's Howard because he likes the intimacy of first names. However, Howard only ever refers to Wallace as Mr. Bryant, never refers to him by his first name, but demands he be referred to by his first name. That was a fun little catch I caught as I was paying attention, and I thought it was appropriate. But he's just regaling him with these stories, and he was such a good storyteller. He was monologuing, and I was really captivated. I was like, I'd listen to this guy tell me stories forever and a day. And Justin Long is doing a good job of being an adolescent about the stories. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, you do seem interested and you do seem intrigued by these stories. Because, like, one of the stories involves Ernest Hemingway. Howard and Ernest split a bottle of booze during World War II. There's a story about there's the main story, which is about him getting sunk, his ship sinking in the off Siberia, and he is stranded on an island. And he's engaged in all this stuff, but it's engaged in that sense of like, I don't really respect you and I don't really care about you. Like, you're telling me like cool things for my podcast that no one's going to believe. And it felt very adolescent to me. That was the best way I could describe it as I was sitting there. Like, you're excited about all the wrong things. You're excited.
Yeah, I'm not ingesting your stories as a human being talking to a human being. You're my entertainment.
Yes.
Dance
exactly.
monkey.
Yes. And then and all the while he's also sipping tea, and he's losing his mind over this tea because apparently it's really good tea. Howard says it's because he steeped the tea leaves in bourbon. So I'm like, okay, that's a new idea I'd never contemplated until now, but And then things start to pivot. Justin Long notices some sort of like phallic object on the mantle of the fireplace, and it's not a phallus, but it's a bone that non-human mammals have that is in the phallus of a walrus.
What?
There was a formal word for it, and I was like, I do not have the energy at 8:00 on a Tuesday to look this up.
Wait. It's a bone that walruses have.
It's called a
where their
baculum.
trunk is.
It's called a baculum for those playing at home.
Baculum.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck? You learn something new all the time.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway thing yesterday. Also there was a porcelain doll on top of a toilet as well too. That was something that apparently I noted and was just like, yeah, that sets the tone.
That's your warning sign. Really well. Get out of this house.
Yeah. So after he's noticed the walrus, Howard tells his story about how a walrus saved his life when his ship sank off Siberia, and he became really, really good friends with he became really good friends with the walrus. And as he starts to wax poetic about his love of walruses, Justin Long starts to notice that he's feeling a little funky and passes out.
Yeah.
And then just as that happened, just as that happens, they flashback. They give us a flashback, and again, it's Justin Long with his girlfriend right before he leaves for Canada, and I'm like, I don't need this because basically he is so mean to his girlfriend. He makes fun of her accent because she supposedly has a Spanish accent. She's basically trying to say, like, you weren't always an ass. You used to be a good person. You used to be funny. You used to be kind. Where did that person go? And he's like, well, that person wasn't profitable. And so I made $100,000 last year on ads alone. And, so I like this new me because this me.
So I'm going to make that my entire persona for all time, even when I'm not on the air.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and she's trying to get him not to go up to Canada because it's mean to exploit the pain and suffering of a kid who's experienced a tragedy. Who'da thunk? That was a novel idea.
Weird.
Yep.
And then proceeded to be ridiculed by millions of people on the internet.
Yeah. And so I just was like, why is this girl with him? Why is this woman with him? Because I wouldn't stand for this, because all he's interested in is having the sex. And he's upset that she started and didn't finish. And it's like, come on now. Like, so apparently she's manipulative and out of touch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in case
he sounds like the bad guy.
Yeah. So in case you need more reasons to want to see him tuskified, the movie makes sure that there are multiple rounds of this.
Don't worry, we'll keep reminding you.
We are doing this to a bad person.
Yes.
Be entertained.
This person deserves it. So then he wakes up alone in a room, and he's drugged, and he's like, what happened? He's in a wheelchair too, just in the middle of a room that has no furniture whatsoever. Howard just appears and is like, oh man, there was a spider bite that bit your leg, and it was swollen so bad that the doctor had to remove your leg. So he is like, he looks down and he sees that his left leg is gone, and his reaction is hysterical. It is just disbelief. It's shock, and it was so funny. I can't describe it.
It was hilarious.
It was hilarious. He's like, yeah, I'm not even going to do it justice. It was really funny, and I love it because Howard, Howard did it. We all know Howard did it, And he's not even trying hard to pretend either.
Why even lie at this point? He's legless. You're going to turn him into a walrus. Just do it.
Yeah, no, but he's playing.
Pretense.
Yeah, but I loved the pretense because it was so hysterical because he's just like, no, the hospital has diseases. A doctor said this. You want to talk to the doctor? Oh, sorry, the doctor took all the phones and he broke your phone accidentally. Well, you want to talk to him? Well, he's making rounds right now. There's no hospital nearby, but he's making rounds. And he's stifling laughter the whole time. It was just like he turns around, he drives off a little bit, just goes, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm just like, come on. I love it. I loved it. I loved the power play there. So yeah, it was just, I loved how much delight he had. Then he has then they pan to dinner later on, and it's revealed that not only is Howard planning to turn him into a walrus, Howard doesn't need need to use a wheelchair. He can walk freely of his own volition. He just did that for reasons, I guess.
Pulled a Willy Wonka for no reason.
Kind of.
Lull him into a sense of security.
Something like that. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
And I also just love that Howard was able to go from like super serious and super like intense to just plain old silly, because he was capable of saying things with a straight face that no man should be able to say with a straight face. Because he was just like, because he would say things like, is the oldest philosophical question of our time, everyone, is man indeed a walrus at heart?
Yep, I've always asked that.
With a straight face said that. I lost my mind when that happened.
That question comes to me at night and I think,
yeah.
Keep me awake.
And also it's just, man is a cruel beast, better to be a walrus. Again, saying that as he's standing over the mangled, deformed body of Justin Long on a surgical table. What you would expect.
Yeah. I think that's the normal reaction anyone would have.
So after this scene at the dinner table, it pans to another cutscene, except this one isn't a flashback. But this time it's Justin Long's girlfriend, and she's like looking straight into the camera and monologuing about how she knows Justin Long's been cheating on her with everyone. And whenever he goes on tour or leaves to go on the road, he always cheats on her. And also she's cheating on Justin Long with Haley Joel Osment as well.
Why though? Because Teddy is like, he's the sidekick, and he's also kind of like the lovable oaf, but I guess he treats her right, or treats her kindly and doesn't cheat on her. So he's a step up, nice. I guess. I don't necessarily know.
The bar has never been lower, folks.
Yeah. So we have that cutscene, which takes a few minutes, and it is one of those things where it's like, we're halfway in and the walrus hasn't manifested yet. The walrus is still in production. And I found myself being just like, can we please get to the walrus?
Walrus him. Walrus the man.
I don't need this B plot. I really don't need this B plot. Again, I didn't need to hate Justin Long, or I didn't need the extra information that he was cheating. So it pans back. Justin Long has been left alone. He finds his phone and proceeds to call his girlfriend.
That's who you call first? You don't call Canadian 911?
No, he calls Allie, and she doesn't pick up because she's put her phone in the bathroom to charge overnight.
As one does.
That's weird.
As one does, yeah. And he leaves a semi-heartfelt message about what's happening and how he's scared. And then he also tries to call Teddy. Teddy also doesn't pick up because his phone is also in the bathroom. However, this was something I caught that I was curious about. It looked like Teddy saw that Justin Long called and just went ignore.
Oh, wait, no. So he was looking at it on the toilet?
He was looking at it as he was brushing his teeth for bed.
Ah, okay. I was like, why is everyone's phone in the bathroom? What's going on?
They leave them there overnight to charge.
That's weird.
That's what they do.
No one does that. That's the biggest hole in this story. You could turn 100 men into walruses.
And still no one would leave their phone in the bathroom.
No one does that. It's gross in there.
It's
when
where
you
the
flush, poop
air.
particles go everywhere.
And if you can smell it, it's in your body.
Yes.
Check that.
So there is that part of me that's like, did he pick up? Did he see it? Did he not? It was kind of sus. I'd ask everybody to go watch the movie and let us know in the comments what they think. But I also love that Justin Long's main plea is, please, I don't want to die in Canada.
Guess what? 911. Just dial it. They're not on the toilet. Not all of them.
So, and finally,
We walrus.
we get another cutscene.
No.
Of Allie and Teddy waking up the next day, hearing the messages and freaking out, and proceeding to drive up to Canada to try and get help from the police.
All right. Are they calling anyone on the way to Canada?
No.
You think you would? You think you'd do that? I
You
don't
would
know.
Yeah.
Get the Mounties on the phone. I don't know what they have.
Yeah. So then we finally start to see Howard turning Justin Long into a walrus. As he does so, he gives a monologue about his backstory and how he hates humanity because as a kid, he was an urchin street rat who was put in an orphanage that then got turned into a mental asylum where he was abused in multiple ways. And basically came to just be like, humanity's terrible. The only kindness I've ever had was a walrus. You find out why the walrus's name that he befriended was Mr. Tusk, which he named after the only authority figure he ever recognized, a janitor who worked at the boys' home he lived at for a time, whose name was Mr. Tuskegee.
Okay, I was like, so his name was just Mr. Tusk? What's going on?
Yeah, so like you're watching this entire movie, and Howard's just I'm more sympathetic with the antagonist right now. Like, definitely don't. If you have a tragic backstory, don't mutilate people.
Don't turn people into walruses about it.
Yeah,
it gives you no right to do, but it's funny because he's a walrus anyway.
Yeah, and they finally reveal the walrus, and it's disgusting. It's disturbing because Justin Long's hands have been fused to his side so that they're flippers. His voice box has been removed so he can only bark and make the noises of a walrus. His legs have been cut off, and he's in it's like a Buffalo Bill skin walrus suit.
Yeah.
You can see human faces across his body at times. Like it's human skin that's been converted into a walrus. And I believe his leg, the main bones from his legs have been converted into his tusks.
Ah, sick. Wait, no, so is this guy killing other people to make a flesh suit?
So here's what happened. So you remember how there was an ad with numbers? So if you pay attention, you'll notice that a few numbers have been taken off already.
Oh.
And Howard tries to force Wallace to swim in a pool because he's caged in like a zoo exhibit where it's like a tiny little pool. There's a platform where he can stand, and then there's a little like bridge that Howard can roll out to walk across to be with his new Mr. Tusk. Because that's what this is all about. He is trying to recreate Mr. Tusk so he can rekindle his friendship with him.
If
you could just get a walrus with your rich guy money.
Exactly. I was just about to say, I was like, why go through the theatrics if you could just purchase a walrus? God, I'm sure
some people juggle geese.
Fair.
I'd rather make a skin suit and sew a man inside. Okay.
I'd rather kill many people.
So there, and his back legs or his flipper is chained is chained up. So he's basically like a circus attraction. And there's a moment where he's trying to get Wallace to swim. And as he sinks to the bottom, he sees that there are multiple corpses of people who he's done this to previously.
Oh, shit.
There are more,
and so the realization that he's not the first person he's done this to is like evident.
Wild.
You think he learned that it's like by doing all this, he's no longer able to swim.
He hasn't learned his lesson. He can do a lot of experiments on humans, but he cannot learn they can't swim. It's impossible.
The story with Wallace, I'm going to stick with the A plot for a little bit before I get to the B plot. Because again, it keeps going back and forth between Wallace being turned into a walrus and Howard's trying to break him so that he is no longer consciously human. He wants him to just be driven by animal instinct alone. But they really don't show how he does that. And I was really hoping for more of that. I was really hoping for a more emphasis on him trying to psychologically break Justin Long into a walrus. But it was just all like, no, he's just in a suit. So now he is a walrus forever and for all eternity. And so, because there was also a scene where he is like, oh, because he'll periodically, like, Howard would periodically come into the exhibit, lay next to Wallace and wax poetic some more. He's no longer Wallace. He's Mr. Tusk now. It is just talking to him. And just Justin Long is just is crying the entire time. He's sobbing. And Howard's upset because walruses don't cry. And it gets to a point where he vacillates between, I'm so terribly scared, like sad about what's happened to me, and then just total indifference. There's a scene where Howard's taking him out and is walking him in the pool and is like swimming with him. And Justin Long just like is so indifferent at this point in time. He's rolling his eyes at Howard and just doesn't care. And I was like, good for you. I'm glad that we have a little bit more range than just sad face.
You can't just be sad that
Also,
you got sewn into a walrus suit.
Also, if he wants animalistic instinct, Mama, I'm taking those tusks and I'm going, I'm jagging your eyes out.
Yeah, about the only thing that they did that was remotely interesting was the idea of, oh, Mr. Tusk, you must be hungry. Here, this is a mackerel. Eat. And then just leave. But they really don't seem to make it look like it was difficult at all. Justin Long just kind of looks at it and goes, okay, this is happening. I'm going to eat a fish. And we see him take a couple bites, but then it pans to the B story.
Boo!
I'm like, no. Because in enters Captain Jack Sparrow. I mean Johnny Depp. I mean any other role Johnny Depp has played in since Captain Jack Sparrow. And so the B plot then shifts to Allie and Teddy trying to figure out where Wallace is because they don't have a lot of information to go on. And they go to the police, and the police are kind of like, we don't really believe that this is a thing, because they keep being like, yeah, do you have any recent photos of him? Yeah, go check out our website, thenaziparty.com. And everybody hangs up and goes, yeah, cool prank, funny. Or they assume that, well, maybe he's engaging in some sort of weird sex act. And it was like, it's everything but taken seriously. But it's, well, what you're describing, we think this detective might be able to help you, who is Johnny Depp. And his scenes go on uncomfortably long. they are very long, and it really did feel like, okay, Johnny, we're just going to let you go, and everybody else is kind of along for the ride at this point in time.
Riff.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Now, just go.
Because no lie, in a 101-minute movie, 15 minutes are devoted to Johnny Depp monologuing about how he's been hunting for Howard for years, how he had a chance encounter with Howard once upon a time and didn't realize it was him. And it's just, it's what you would expect from Johnny Depp. It's Johnny Depp. He's doing Johnny Depp, but it's suffering from Captain Jack Sparrow syndrome, where
he was really trying to get his Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins 15-minute Oscar.
Yeah.
And the twist of the whole movie is that Johnny Depp is Mr. Tusk that got turned into a man and is now searching for his best friend.
He went to Ursula the Sea Witch to ask for legs.
And then him and Howard join hands at the end and swim into the ocean and leave Justin Long.
I would have enjoyed that. That would have been beautiful. I mean, I was really hoping that when Allie had her monologue about how he was a cheating SOB, I was really hoping that she was talking to Howard. And this was almost like a planned thing. Like there was a conspiracy to get him. I would have loved that. But no. And then there's a flashback of the moment when Johnny Depp and Howard meet, and Howard acts like he's a hillbilly who doesn't know anything. And it just goes on way too long. And the problem is the scenes themselves are funny. But I came here for a horror movie about a guy being turned into a walrus, and I really haven't spent a lot of time being scared or shocked or grossed out as I was expecting to be. I spent more time laughing at this movie than I was disturbed by it. And I get that horror comedy that's a weird pairing to mate, but I also feel like in the serious moments, the horror that is manifest, like Justin Long realizing he lost his leg. The seriousness of the situation then injected with the humor of him just being oh my God, my leg is gone, as dumbfaced as he is, was hysterical. So I found myself just being very upset with the B plot because I felt like it kept taking away from the horror movie I wanted to see on screen.
Fair.
Quite honestly, other than the image of Justin Long in the walrus suit, nothing else about this movie is really disturbing. Quite honestly, Logan, you probably could watch it and not be freaked out in any capacity.
Oh, I wasn't freaked out. My thing is the psychological of I don't like that idea of being forced into. I don't like the idea of the loss of control. That freaks me out. That's why I don't like those kind of movies.
Okay, fair.
That's fair. The body horror I don't give a shit about.
Okay, gotcha. So the ending. So we get to kind of the penultimate scene where Howard comes out dressed as a walrus himself. We learn that in order to survive on the island, he ate Mr. Tusk. He killed and ate Mr. Tusk. However, he did that an hour before he was rescued.
No! What? Your best friend!
Yeah. So, and the idea that it was a meaningless sacrifice because an hour later he was rescued. Also, that's the impetus where he feels like he did his friend dirty and has to make it right. So in addition to, I'm trying to rekindle my friendship with Mr. Tusk, I also want Mr. Tusk to have to fight me to the death because as atonement for my sins.
Wait, is he in his own? Did he surgically place himself inside his own suit?
His is not surgical. He just has a suit, again, made of human skin. But it's a walrus suit, and he just is you must, if you wish to truly to survive, you're gonna have to fight me, because if you don't kill me, I'm gonna kill you. And they start fighting.
Oh my God, I want to see this scene so badly.
And as they're fighting, you keep panning back and forth between them having their fight and Allie, Teddy, and Johnny Depp locking and loading to go shoot Howard because they figured out where he is by going back to the gas station where Justin Long found the number, got the address, and doing some weird detective things with a pad of paper and a pencil. So that's happening, and it's like, if you truly want to fight me, you've gotten farther than any other Mr. Tusk incarnation I've made before. They've all died before this point. So, but if you truly want to live, you're going to have to become an animal. You're going to have to become a walrus. And so,
the real walrus didn't win in the end. You ate him, sir.
And as he says this also, it's like, I want us to have a fair fight. But then to sweeten the deal, I'm going to get out of my walrus costume, completely naked, and proceed to kill you as a human. So it just didn't make sense either.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it does not. It was delightful. But then Justin Long goes full walrus. He uses his tusk to stab Howard in the foot. As he falls to the ground, he then just starts stabbing him repeatedly. And, and Howard is just, as he dies, is just like, it is finished. My creation is complete, like something like that. And then, of course, Allie, Teddy, they barge in, and Justin Long has gone full walrus and just barks maniacally at them. Which then proceeds and then Johnny Depp walks in, sees this, looks down, damn shame, raises the gun to shoot Wallace, with Allie and Teddy being like, no, don't kill him. And then we pan to like a year later or something like that. And this is where I'm like, what? Like, this is where it got weird for me.
This is where it got weird?
This is it.
Now,
yeah, this was it for me. Because in my mind, like, as you're watching the movie, the suit looks like there's a lot of air inside it. There are a couple of times where Justin Long's head kind of bops into the body, into the suit itself, and then pops back out. So in my mind, he's just a human that's like kind of trapped in a suit that's got a lot of air inside of it. What did they decide to do with him? They decided to just keep him in the suit, dump him off at a Winnipeg animal sanctuary, where he spends the rest of his life as a walrus in a tiny Como Zoo, old school Como Zoo, concrete pen with a little swimming pool and a small little hut, where he's fed fish and is the main attraction of an exhibit nobody asked for and nobody would pay to see.
Also,
no, you go.
Also, the flesh on the suit will rot. Like,
it's not part of him. Also, you could just unsew that shit. It sounds like his stuff was just sewn to his sides. You could just undo that. He just doesn't have legs
or arms,
well, he's got the arms are sewn to the flippers.
It was unclear if but I feel like they could have done something. Like, they could have Lieutenant Danned him, given him titanium legs.
You know what they could have done? They could have shot him in the dumb face. I would have been just shoot, pull the trigger, Piglet. No. What?
Yeah. So, and Allie and Teddy go visit him. They give him a fish. And Allie's like distraught over the fact that this has happened. Teddy doesn't seem to care.
So does everyone at the zoo know that he's a man?
I would hope so.
The zookeeper's not like, that walrus has really soulful eyes. I don't know. He just keeps looking at me.
Usually like the doll's eyes like we usually see.
Feels like there's a man in there.
There's a little too much white in those eyes.
I mean, we don't see any zoo staff. So, but like, I have to believe they know what this is. They know what they purchased or received.
Purchased.
They
I'll give
purchased
you
the
$5 whole dollars for that, man.
the Manrus.
Yeah. So, and then they peg to the last flashback where it's Allie and Justin Long in the bed in bed again, and Allie talks about how crying is a sign of humanity. It's what separates humans from animals. And the last scene is Justin Long crying as Allie and Teddy walk away, and then it pans off to the swimming pool and the end credits.
What the fuck? I don't know what I expected.
I don't know why I'm sneezing so much.
If you could stop sneezing, that'd be cool.
So sorry.
This is a podcast. Just hold it in.
So that was Tusk.
Yeah.
I wanted him to get shot in the face. I guess
that
is
should have just been the
my.
ending.
That's a I don't even understand logistically how that would come to be.
Yeah, so it just overall my final impressions, it's a solid 6 out of 10, I'd probably say, which is close to what the critics say. Critics ranked it at about 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb. It's more of a comedy than a horror movie, and with just some really gross elements to it. But I loved the acting of Michael Parks, who played Howard. He was great. Definitely recommend giving it a watch. My favorite thing is, according to Wikipedia, he has an idea for a sequel. It's unclear if there's actually going to be a sequel, but he's just said that he has an idea for a sequel where Justin Long turns back into a human and becomes the new antagonist.
Yeah. That's some comic book supervillain backstory. I was once a walrus.
Like a French maid. I had many sirs in my day.
Do you want to know how I got these scars? I got turned into a walrus. Okay, well, I want that. I would love to watch that.
But it definitely made me intrigued by what Red State is. And I would love to see Moose Jaws, because I feel like at this point in time, I know what I'm walking into, and it's going to be hysterical.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah.
I'd watch
kind of
Moose
like
Jaws.
Cocaine Bear.
Yes. Hopefully with the same philosophical enlightenment.
Hopefully. All right. Is it my turn?
Can we
I
take a
believe
quick
it
pause?
is.
Oh, Logan wants to pause. I shall pause. Zoom. Okay. So it is my turn.
Yes.
Huzzah!
We are back, and we did not have any technical difficulties, so don't even ask.
Never even once. I've never had a technical difficulty I can't handle.
Not on this site. Site redacted.
I just have to say, McCall, you did that. You played with your hair, and I desperately was almost ready to copy you, and then got sad for a moment.
And then just felt the air.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm growing my hair out and it's driving me insane. Oh, also, I had a straight up body horror moment. So I was in the shower and my eye was very irritated and it felt like there's an eyelash in there. And I rubbed it a bunch and nothing changed and I just kind of ignored it. And then I took out my contacts, went to bed. I'm in bed and I'm still rubbing my eye. It's still annoying. I get up, go back to the mirror. I start looking in my eye for an eyelash. And it is a really long hair that has wrapped itself all up, all curly Q in my eyeball.
In your eye. Oh my God.
The longest hair. And so I tried to tweeze it out with my fingers.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And I got the end of it. And I started to pull it out. And I'm like, well, it'll probably just be really short, right? And I just kept going and going. And I was like,
oh my God. Did you feel it in your brain?
Yeah, it was, honestly, I was like, this feels like something that would happen in a horror movie where
it's.
I just have to say, I love how that is the most disturbing thing we've talked about on this podcast so far.
It was
It's like that-
horrendous.
It's like in Black Swan when she picks that hangnail and
Oh,
it like goes all the way
yeah.
up.
Oh, I hate that
Give me a
so
quick second, I shut the
much.
door.
That happened in Westworld, too.
Ugh. People just need to leave their hangnails alone. Or cut them with a scissor or something. I don't know.
Oh, but you pulled it. Oh, that's disgusting.
It was really, it felt good. Like when it was out, I felt like I could see better.
I can
2020
see.
vision now.
I can fight.
But anyway, I did the story of El Fausto. And I got my information from The Fishing Boat That Disappeared 3 Times, which is an article on The Medium by Elisa Bird, a Cooltra article by Rafa Hernandez, and then The Lazy Masquerade also did a YouTube video where they talked about it. So I listened to that.
Shout out Lazy.
Yeah, Logan likes them, and Logan told me to do this story because it's nautical themed. So, El Fausto was a Spanish fishing boat. It was about 14 meters, which is 46 feet for us Americans. It is, oh God. Okay, it's based on Tazacorte, which is in the Canary Islands of La Palma, which I saw a map of it. It's in the ocean, man. There's islands. It's there. Just
It's in
trust
the
me.
ocean, man.
I have no idea. It's like Spain-esque. I think. I should look at a map sometime. So July 20th, 1968, the crew boards El Fausto, which is the name of the boat. And the crew is Miguel Acosta Hernandez, Roman, and Alberto Concepcion Hernandez. Ramon and Alberto are brothers. Miguel is also related to them, so they're all family. The guy that owns the boat is also their family. It's like a whole family business. It's like a big boat, so they're like shipping materials and transporting shit. They are all experienced sailors. They have sailed on the ship specifically many times, and the ship's route that they're actually going on, they've also done multiple times. So they know what they're doing. The boat was currently delivering agricultural explosives. I don't know what that is. I don't know why you'd use that. You're making some really hardy plants.
You're making some plants that explode.
Yeah.
I just have to say, I really love. I looked up where Tazacorte is in reference to the Canary Islands. They're 2 islands separated by the ocean, but Google Maps is telling me it's going to be a 7-hour drive to get from one location to the next.
Don't worry, we'll get you there. Just hop in your car. So they're going to El Hierro, which is a different island. That's south of La Palma. And so they're doing their first leg, and then they drop off their cargo of the explosives. They're kind of doing their own thing, and then they run into this guy named Julio Garcia Pino, who I don't know how things worked back in 1968, but he runs into these dudes unpacking a ship, and he's like, hey, my baby daughter, she's back in La Palma. I just found out she's like super sick. So I need to get home, but the boats aren't taking like passengers back. So I need to get there like right now. And you guys look like you boat. So if you could boat me there, that'd be cool. And they're like, sure. What? Yeah.
Okay.
Why the fuck not? We're going back there anyway. Your daughter seems sick enough. Well, we're not even going to charge you. So he bums a ride off of them, which I just feel like is really weird. Like, how did he know that they were? I don't know. So they get him on the boat. They're supposed to travel back to La Palma. It is 61 miles. It's like a 7-hour boat ride. From El Hierro to La Palma, and they don't come back. They just don't show up. Their significant others for the crew are waiting there because they're scheduled to come back, and they never arrive. And they're like, what the heck? Because it wasn't like stormy or anything. So they call the owner of the boat, who is related to them. He gets like a search party. He gets a different boat to sail the same route that they were supposed to go to find them, because they should be somewhere there. They don't see anything. They come back kind of empty-handed. They do note that the waters are calm. Nothing looked out of the ordinary. And people are pretty bummed because they think they probably just must have either gone off course for some reason or sank for some other reason. And they're like, that's weird. Both options are really weird and shouldn't have happened.
Both options are not great.
No, they're bad. And then they're also like, everyone in the area knows about it now. So then all the boats in that area who are sailing are also looking for them. Nobody sees them. And all of the planes that are going overhead also don't report any distress signals or anything like that.
Oh.
They report the crew missing, and they kind of do their search party stuff. They don't kind of see anything. 4 days later, on July 25th, a British ship finds the boat a few hundred kilometers from the town of La Palma, and it's very off course. So it's not like where it should have been, but it's also been missing for 4 days. So I don't know.
Sure. So who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, you can travel very far in a few days. The crew on board, like the ship pulls up and they're like, hey, you're those missing guys. And they're like, we sure are. And they're fine. They're like, yeah, we're good. Don't worry about us. And the British ship is like, we can tow you back to town. Like, don't worry about it. And the four guys, like the British ship sees all four dudes. They're all normal. They're all like, don't worry. We'll be back tonight. Like, we'll definitely go. We don't even need a tow. We don't even need you to, don't even look at us. Go away. And
give us information first. Where the heck have you been?
Yeah. The British ship's like, okay. They give them some food and some fuel for 18 more hours. And they're like, cheerio. And they leave. So they tell the boat people, I assume that, you know how air traffic controllers are telling all the planes where they're going? There must be a boat.
I think it's a harbor master.
Yeah, they tell the boat controllers that hey, we saw them. They're all fine. They're all alive. And they said they're coming back.
They're all doing fine. How are you?
How are you? I love that part.
That's great.
So everybody's like, woo, they're okay. They hold a party and they're waiting all night and they're dancing. And then I assume the dancing gets kind of more worried and slower the longer that they're not back. And then finally they're all just standing there waiting. And then the sun comes up and they're like, oh, fuck.
They're like, bruh.
Come on. A second time. So a lot of people stayed until dawn and the ship never comes back. Everyone starts looking again. Since it's the second time, people are a little bit more serious about it. The government gets involved. They spend about $2 million on the search.
Oh, wow.
I remember watching the video that Lazy did. It was one of the biggest expenditures that it was Spain, right? It was one of the biggest Spain's ever done to try and bring these people back.
I think it was just so weird. And I think people just wanted an explanation as to what the fuck. So they're sending planes overhead. They're canvassing the area. They're going buck wild. After searching for 2 weeks, they don't find anything. They don't even see a trace of the boat. And so they just give up.
Great.
They're like, they're probably dead.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, fair.
October 9th, which is 3 months after the boat initially went missing. An Italian boat now reports seeing a boat that matches Fausto's description. It is adrift on the Tropic of Cancer, which I don't know where that is.
Give me a sec. Keep talking. I'll pull it up.
I'll pull up the coordinates. Triangulating position.
Okay, so Tropic of Cancer is kind of like, it's an imaginary line similar to the equator, but it looks like it is like Western Africa is where it would be hitting. That'd be the nearest place. That or like Mexico. It's just shy of Florida, it looks like, too.
All right, so they're not close.
They're nowhere close to to Spain.
They've just been about.
Boot in a boot.
So this Italian ship looks like, hey, that looks like that weird missing ship. So they like, I don't know, board it. I don't know how like boat. I guess they like pull up and they like, ding dong, or is anyone home?
It's the same as pirating, just without the peg legs and avasties.
Yeah, they were very polite about it, I assume.
Apparently this is the houseboat, like PB&J from Disney Channel. Like, do you remember that one?
The
noodle dance. Like, they go up to their houseboat and they go ding dong.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a fairly good sized boat. So they like board it and they get on the deck and there's no one there. And the boat seems fine. The boat is like working the way it should. It's floating. Good.
It's floating.
There's no issues, but they also don't see any crew. So they send some poor dude below deck. He's
like,
gonna go
still on the ship, or did they go like dive under to check out the hull of the ship?
No, he's just going
doot
down the stairs.
Gotcha.
And he's gonna go look at the engine to be like, well, maybe their engine ran out of lug nuts. And then
ran out of, you know how what engines run on? Lug nuts.
Steam? I don't know. So, yeah.
What these chairs made out of? Steel.
Steel. He walks down there to go look at the engine, and he finds the naked corpse of a man that's like partially mummified, and it's holding, I picture in my mind palace, it's clutching with its little memmy claws a notebook, and then sitting next to it on the ground is like a radio. And this guy's like, whoa! And like, the Italians are like, mayday, mayday, there's a weird mummy. And they tell everybody, like, I guess we'll bring it back, but we're kind of freaked out. So
yeah,
they're bringing,
understandably so.
Yeah, I'd be like, we leave it here. This has the witchcraft. I don't know. But they're like, we'll bring it back. So they tie it up and they're going to bring it back to Puerto Cabello in Venezuela.
Are there 2 L's?
Yes.
Thank
so
you.
it's Caballo. And they like kind of radio in saying, hey, this one's got some weird shit, so you're probably going to want to do like an investigation or whatever.
No, first and foremost, get a curandero. Sage that.
Yeah, I would not touch that boat. But
not on your young gay life would I touch that fucking boat.
No. During the voyage, though, the boat becomes untethered and it sinks to the bottom of the ocean for no reason that the Italian crew could really explain, because the boat was doing fine before. So the Italians don't have the boat anymore. So they have no evidence. They didn't like move the mummy, so we don't have the mummy body. But
they should have.
No one took a Polaroid. No one took a selfie.
There were no selfies.
Oh, that's right. This is before the 70s, so they totally didn't have anything.
They had nothing.
They had charcoal drawing.
Okay.
Yeah, someone painted on a cave
paintings.
wall. Yeah.
Wait, did they have that in the 70s?
So
no, I'm shocked though that they did not move the body onto the main ship. Although maybe it's because they didn't want their ship.
I wouldn't touch that thing. Absolutely
I wouldn't touch
not.
a mummy. No. Also,
I'd say it's evidence of a possible murder or something.
I would say I don't want to contaminate the murder scene, so I'm not going to touch it.
That's a good point.
I just don't want to be cursed by whatever spiritual force is going on right now.
I
There's
also
something
don't want
I
to get
certainly
cursed.
will not take that notebook.
They did take the notebook. So the only evidence that we have, other than the testimony from the people that found the shit, is the yellowish notebook. But all of the pages were torn out, but the last one, which is again some like weird movie shit.
I'm getting uncomfortable. I need an adult right now.
some really spooky shit happened on this ship.
I have and the only reason that we think we know whose corpse it is because the handwriting that was on the notebook, Julio's wife confirms that that's her husband's handwriting. So we think that was him.
McCall, do you think you could identify my handwriting?
Yeah.
Good, because I can't.
I was like, actually, better question, Charlie. Can you?
I don't think I've seen you handwrite anything enough to know what your handwriting looks like.
That's a fair point. I don't handwrite.
I think the closest I've seen is when you write on the grocery list.
Or when you saw my note that exposed what I was going to do for your birthday because I left it out like an idiot.
That's kind of on you then.
Yeah, that was completely on me.
I mean, I'd kind of already sussed it out before then.
Yeah, you asked a lot of context clues.
You answered.
I did. I could have said no. Sorry, go on, El Fausto.
Yes. So we think it's Julio's body, and Julio was the one who wanted to see his daughter.
Wait a minute, just double checking. Was Julio the one that they were like, yeah, we'll take you on, no problem?
Yes.
Okay.
So he wasn't part of the crew.
Okay.
So they read the note from Julio, and it's like in the midst of a very long letter, but all those earlier pages were torn out, so we don't know what they say. But it ends with like Julio talking to his wife, kind of saying goodbye, and like kind of talking about like, this is the end, I'm gonna die, something in Spanish. And then it ends with, don't tell our children what happened to me. And then it's done. Like that's it. And they're like, oh, that's cool. So we don't know where the other three guys are. Julio's a mummy and also at the bottom of the sea. The boat's fine. Yeah, we have no information other than that.
How long does it take for a body to mummify?
I don't know. It was also partially mummified. So about 3 months for it to partially mummify.
Okay. Well, there we go.
So yeah, that is the end of the story. Unfortunately, I have literally no other information. I was trying to think of any kind of under any kind of explanation, and I couldn't.
I looked up how long does it take for a body to mummify naturally. First hit a New York Times article, how to make a mummy, parentheses, accidentally.
Yikes.
You do what Dorian Corey did.
Oh.
Put it in a suitcase.
Put it in a suitcase, put baking soda all over it, and just forget about it.
And then just die.
And then die, and people only find out about it after you've died.
Yeah, someone else can clean that shit up.
I mean, to be fair, you don't have to worry about it anymore.
I guess. But that's the story of El Fausto. Yay!
Yay!
More questions than answers.
That was good.
Yeah. My current theory is that Julio was a dimensional wizard. And he was traveling in between dimensions. Kind of forgot where he was.
The working theory.
He gets these dudes. They somehow get to a different dimension with him. He comes back to the right dimension, but loses them. So they're lost somewhere. And then he goes crazy and then dies on the ship. The end.
I think it was all just a big insurance scam.
I agree. I don't think that mummy was even real.
Just like Pootie Tang.
But, so we can stop thinking about these questions that will keep us up in the middle of the night. Charlie, do you have a sibling story?
Not only do I have a sibling story, but I have a story that involves my siblings.
What? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
We've strayed so far from that.
Yeah. So this story is about my sister Sarah and my brother Jack. And take heart. This isn't an embarrassing story, in my opinion, but it's a fun story, and it's one that I think about fondly.
I think Mahal will enjoy it too, because I believe it enjoys something that she very much enjoys.
So this story involves the Minnesota Zoo, which was growing up I would say one of our homes away from home. It was our grandmother's house and the Minnesota Zoo, because during the summer we were involved in their zoo camp, summer camp programs. I was a zoo teen volunteer. When I was old enough, I volunteered in the summer camp program. Sarah did the same and then continued on as a volunteer and an employee of the Minnesota Zoo for a period of time. So we really love the Minnesota Zoo in our family. And we were very blessed that we were able to have a membership on a regular basis. But as we got older, we didn't go off as frequently. The family member who made sure that we had a zoo membership growing up passed away, and it was just not financially a feasible thing to continue having a membership, and going to the zoo for a day is very expensive. But one of the things that I like to do when I was in my early 20s is I like to go to the zoo as part of my birthday celebrations. And usually my brother and sister and I would go first thing in the morning, because that was before the crowds. And we also knew from our experience at the zoo that that's when the animals seemed to be more alive and moving about in their exhibits, and they weren't just in the back area. So we go, and I can't remember when this was. I think I was, like I said, early 20s, so about a decade ago. And it was around the time that Russia's Grizzly Coast, that exhibit was still relatively new. And it's that trail where the story picks up. And so we've had a lot of fun stories with the zoo over the years, but this one always stands out to me because this was one that was equal parts funny and also terrifying. Because so we were going through the exhibit, everything was fine. The otters were a delight. The bears were lively. They didn't charge at the glass and pound on it like they did at the Duluth Zoo. That's another story.
We never went to the Duluth Zoo in the 4 years that we lived there. We never went there.
Mm-mm.
I remember it being delightful, but when I was there was the grizzly bear, and I ran up to the glass. It ran back at me, and I just leapt away, and it kept pounding on the glass at various intervals. Once I'd been lulled into a false sense of security, it just pounded the glass to jump scare me again. So
it was not featuring you.
It did not care for me. So we get to the jaguar exhibit, and if you've ever been to the Minnesota Zoo, there's one viewing area that's plexiglass looking out into the exhibit, which is mostly trees and an overgrowth, and it's very obscure. And then you can loop around, and there's a section that's more at the top of the exhibit. You get to the other side, and it's like chain link enclosure, but open air. So we go to the other side because we couldn't see it through the plexiglass. So we went to the other side, the open air section, and I see it, and I see the jaguar hiding in the very back of the exhibit. It's hiding in the overgrowth. And I look at it, and me being a cocky person, and also because there was no one around, so I felt more empowered to just be silly. I look at it, I lock eyes with this jaguar and say, hey, I see you. You're not doing a good job of hiding. You're nothing special. You're not Waldo. And as soon as I say Waldo, this leopard sprints, leaps into the air, all four claws pinned to the chain link, and as it's moving back and forth, it's hissing at me. Jack and Sarah just back away, and I back away, of course, too. I'm startled, but I lose my mind because apparently I offended it wholesale.
Yeah, it did not like the trainer named Waldo in its past.
Apparently, there was something going on. So from then on, that leopard, even though it probably isn't the same leopard, that the leopard in that exhibit is forever named Waldo in my mind.
That's
And
cute.
I always just go back past that exhibit, and I kind of chuckle to myself. I've never said it again. I have tempted fate once. I will not do so again.
No need to antagonize him. He's been through a traumatic experience. He could never find Waldo in those books.
He could not.
He had such a hard time.
It's so difficult. It's like why are they all dressed like that? What's going on? Why are there so many barbers in this town?
Why is this happening to me?
But that, dear listeners, was our sibling story to take you out of the Tusk terror that we gave you. So if you want to follow us, you can do so. I'll allow it. We're on Twitter, we're on Tumblr and Instagram at Living Scary Podcast. Except for Twitter, which is Living Scary. And we have emails, which I'll read to you in a second, because I always have to double check. Okay, so we have livingvicariouusly@gmail.com. That still exists. We also have livingscarypodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your sibling stories if you would like them read, or your horror movie recommendations, or your murder, true crime story recommendations, and we will respond to you. I am pretty good at that. Sometimes. But
I'm pretty good at that. Quickly redact.
That was our episode, so thank you so much. And Logan, do you want to take us out?
No, I think Charlie should take us out.
No!
Wait a minute. When was this part of the job description?
Now.
You didn't prep him? Oh my God.
Because I want it to be a surprise.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Special thanks to Logan and McCall for letting me join today. And just remember, as always, sadness was invented in America. If you look at the flag, it's red, white, and blue. If you look at a Canadian flag, it's red, white, but no blue, eh?
Ah.